Ladies and gentlemen, our honoured guests and speakers, we thank you very much for deciding to be part of our very important evening here at Vilasa Hub. We do believe that there will be some great subjects being discussed here this evening, and once again we invite you to please participate, as I do believe we all do have a lot to contribute to our society as we in business teach the others that they can aim high, do the work, and you will get there. To open up the evening for us, I have a young lady by the name of Mila Beovska, who will sing a song for us. Oi, Jana Oi. Mila?
Jano, ubava Jano, odedna ta strana Jano, sonce te ogreva, o druga ta strana Jano, jasna mesečina, samo ko je fajde Jano, koga jedno nemaš, koga si nemame Jano, od srce poroda. O Jano, Jano, ubava Jano.
Mila, thank you very much for your beautiful voice. And to open this evening's discussions and presentation, I now welcome to the stage His Excellency Mr. Charles Edmund Garrett, the British Ambassador to Macedonia.
Благодарам. Добра вечер на сите. Каков убав глас туку што имавме тука. I'm Charles Garrett, the British ambassador here. I've been here ambassador for the last almost 4 years, and I don't think I have ever been to an event which has such colour and energy in it, even a top hat somewhere in the audience there, and opened by just the most beautiful singing there. I think it's just a wonderful way to do it, and I think I might try that at all future embassy meetings. It's a real honour to be here tonight, and I'm very excited about it, but it might not be immediately obvious why the British Embassy has an interest in this. The British Embassy, of course, comes here with objectives and work which are about strengthening stability, strengthening security, strengthening prosperity. It's all about NATO and the EU and big business and political leaders and things. So where does this fit in? Well, the truth is that all of that stuff is really, although it's very high profile, it's just a small bit of what we do. The vast majority of what we do is what I like to call engaging directly with real people, so individuals. It's working with entrepreneurs, it's working with small businesses, not big ones. It's working with NGOs, with civil society. It's engaging direct with people through things like social media and, of course, through events like this. Why do we do that? Because, well, there are 4 reasons that I can think of. Maybe there are others as well, but these are important ones. The first one is that in any country, big business and powerful people tend to have a very disproportionately big influence on the way the country develops. And that is not always a good thing. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. And it's important also to work with people who perhaps on their own have slightly less powerful influence in order to make their voices heard as well. Second reason I'd mention is that social reform, societal reform, the way we develop our society is always more powerful when it's something that members of society feel they have a role in, something that they're doing alongside the reformers, that it's not something that is done to them. That's the second reason. The third reason, and this comes back to what I was saying about this room being full of energy and colour, is that it's at that level of individuals, of real people as I call it, that you often get the most creativity and the greatest energy. It's at that micro level, and it just needs an element of support to express itself, to make itself heard. And the last reason I'd mention is that it always used to be said, and it still is said to some degree, that it's all about big eats small. It really hasn't been about big eats small for a very long time. It's about fast eats slow. In this world, you have to be very quick, you have to be very agile, and it's often at this level of individuals and small groups of people and small businesses that you can change things more quickly. We've got a summit coming up, the Western Balkans Summit in London on the 10th of July, which my colleagues in London are working to develop a programme for even as we speak. That is going to reflect what I've just been saying, in that young people of all sorts, small businesses, entrepreneurs, are going to have a very high profile element in that programme. So for all of these reasons, I'm very excited to be here. But that's from a professional side, a work side. And I'd like also to mention that I have a personal reason for wanting to be here tonight. And that is that on the 1st of June, 23 years ago, my view about inclusion and about social development changed overnight when our second daughter was born with Down syndrome. I hadn't thought about inclusion particularly before that, but I thought about it an enormous amount afterwards because suddenly it was personal to me, it was personal to my daughter, it was personal to our whole family. So there's a personal reason at all. For all that, it's a real pleasure to be here. It's a real pleasure to know that this event is happening and that it's going to generate a lot of what I was talking about in terms of creativity and ideas and getting things moving. So I wish you all the very best for a successful event, and I look forward to hearing how you get on. Thank you very much.
Well, without much further ado, a little bit about Vilasa Hub. Vilasa Hub here in Macedonia was born a little over a year and a half ago. This is our fourth event in a row where our owner, Bobby Lin, of Taiwanese background, however, a New Zealander, decided that, Macedonia might be a good place as there is quite a lot of talent, quite a lot of young people with huge capabilities, and being centrally located within the European area, he thought that this would be a perfect location to start a business. I am sure that we have not let him down. Today, as I said, is the fourth in a row of Vilasa Hub events, Tech.O. The concentration this year being on technology and innovation to equality and social impact. Why this? Well, I believe that no matter how big or small a business is, we all do have a role to play. As a business owner myself and an employer, I believe my role in this sphere is to ensure that my staff is well looked after, that they undergo continual development and training, that they are encouraged and motivated to always do more, to always perform better, and above all, to be happy where they are. Next in my line of work this evening, I would like to, just a minute, where are we? Help. There we are. Okay, so this is what we are about. On the list down here, you will see just a number of our sponsors. Why so many? Well, because gradually over time in Macedonia, the realization that yes, we do all have a part to play, and yes, we all can, slowly but surely, is awakening. And I think if all of us here this evening do come together and give it just a little bit more of an effort, I believe by next year this time the numbers will be double. Can you imagine what that would mean for a society such as ours? After all, we are all equals. We are all made of the same materials, blood and bones, skin, the rest. We all have a right to the same opportunities. We all have a right to the same good quality life, regardless of our ethnic, religious, gender, or physical disabilities. We all just need to give each other a hand and understand that in life, alone, we cannot succeed, but together we can do much more. Next this evening, I would like to invite to the stage our major sponsor, and that is NLB, to give us a few words on this matter and introduce themselves. Thank you.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you for having us here. We are, as you mentioned previously, sponsors of this event, and we are very proud of it. As a sponsor, we were given 3 minutes here, and I'm sure you're all thinking she came here to brag, and this is not the case. That's why we are gladly donating the rest of the time to a very dear partner. But first of all, I would shortly like to give you an insight on how we do things and how we like to do things. So in 2017, we managed to pursue the 3 target groups that we have, and that is according to our CSR strategy. The projects for clients, employees, and last but not least, of course, society and environment. We succeeded to accomplish 15 projects for the clients, 15 for the employees, and 37. And I repeat again, 37, making it a total of 67 projects in the CSR department. So CSR is not only what you would say sponsorships and donations. It is what you can do for others, gaining what they need and helping them in what they need. Social responsibility is not just a characteristic of a business, it's a way of doing business. And above all, we like to strive on doing more and more. So, as I said, the CSR activities for clients have been thorough in our bank. We try to educate, help whenever we can. In this, we like to offer our banking services to our clients at all time, at all means, and this we do by digitalizing our services. We like to praise ourselves as being pioneers in this field. We were the first to introduce the e-banking in Macedonia. We were the first to introduce the mobile app for e-banking in Macedonia for legal entities, and our physical entities mobile app was awarded this year as the best in their country. We like to strive as well for further education. This is women in business education, awarding our clients, etc. Furthermore, we accomplished 15 projects for our employees, doing sports, educating as well. And the 37 projects that we did for our clients, we did above all thanks to the employees who, you know how they say, satisfied employees are always eager to share their satisfaction and help others. And in that line, the projects that we did, we are very proud of all of them, very pleased with each and every sport achievement. But I would now like to ask you, do you know which athletes in Macedonia have the most medals on the Olympics? Yes? Yes, correct. This is the Special Olympics athletes. We are very pleased with what we do together. You know, it's not about just funding something. For example, you would like to buy your friend a cup of coffee. You don't just give them money and say, hey, have a cup of coffee for me. You go out for coffee together. It's what friends do. And I would like to emphasize the word together, because that's how we do things with Special Olympics. The keynote here is that we do things together, such as swimming, basketball. We together welcomed Bojan Trajkovski when he came home from the Winter Olympics 2017 with 2 silver medals. We're very proud of him. So when you talk about friendship, you do things together, you gain equality, and most of all, you gain equity. And this is what we strive for with Special Olympics. So I would like to, as I said, give the rest of the time to Anna Petrovska, the president of Special Olympics Macedonia. I strongly advise you to now open your hearts and ears, because in the next several minutes, I promise you, you will gain a whole new perspective on what greatness is. So ladies and gentlemen, I give you Anna Petrovska.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank to NLB Bank for inviting us to this event. Unfortunately, I will have to start this speech with a very sad news for us. Special Olympics Macedonia is an organization of around 120 athletes. But as of today, with 1 athlete less. Today we said goodbye to our dear athlete, swimmer Darko Arsov, who is a gold medalist who was a gold medalist at 50 meters freestyle from Special Olympics Greece 2011. Our grief is enormous, but not only success of our athletes, but also the grief is jointly shared. Because in a country where wider inclusion of all is struggling to be acknowledged, any of their battles is a battle of our own. Hence, united this way, we have shown that we can win gold, medal, bronze, silver in all sports: athletics, badminton, swimming, skiing, basketball. Under the motto, "Let me win, but if I cannot, let me be brave in the attempt," we move borders every day by showing that is what we can do. The motto is simple. The motto is very simple. Allow me and don't marginalize me. Include me and I will show you that I can. It was NLB Bank who embraced this and decided to join us and to get to know us better. Starting with an initial simple but yet brave step of a charity exhibition of paintings, which was initial capsule into getting to know the athletes. Since then, already for 1 year, we are doing things together. What does that mean? We play basketball together, we play football, we swim. We fuse through unified sports because we consider sport is one of the easiest and more fun ways to get to know and embrace each other. Our ultimate goal is unified country, and we can create one only through joint partnerships. NLB Bank is our reliable partner in realization of our mission. With strong support, I can say everything is easier. It's not always about finances. It's about getting to know each other. It's about learning about each other and doing things together. That's why I confirmed to this event that I know that all the employees from LB Bank now they have raised their awareness about people with disability through this 1 year, because we have done a lot, as you can see from the photos, a lot of things together. We hope others will join us to support the Special Olympics since 2019 Summer Olympics in Abu Dhabi are approaching. And I shall conclude this message that inclusion is hard but required effort because it is a shared responsibility. I hope more of us will get more courage to step up and rise to the challenge. Thank you.
Assistance required? Help? Oh, okay. It's all right now. It's all right now. Thank you. Well, as we can see, next in line, I would like to now invite to the stage Mr. Benjamin Perks, the UNICEF representative in Skopje. Thank you, sir. Now, let's see what's going to happen when I press that.
That looks like an enormous presentation.
Yeah. This one here.
Great.
Yep.
Благодарам много. Dobro večer na sita. I'm going to continue in English because that's about the extent of my Macedonian. I'm really grateful for the invitation, and I wanted to talk to you this evening about really to present an argument about why all of the science, everything we're learning about adolescent brain development tells us that we really need to rethink education and the way that we manage adolescence. It's always interesting. In addition to my job as a kind of a UN human rights diplomat, I also am a senior fellow at the University of Birmingham in the UK and do a lot of work on looking at the social and emotional development of children. So I'll be a little bit more of an academic and a little bit less of a diplomat in this very short presentation. It's always interesting to talk about brains because obviously everybody in the room has got a brain. The guy with the top hat probably has got two hidden in there. But, and your brain, every decision all of you everywhere have ever made about your life is filtered through your brain. But how many of you over the last couple of weeks have given any thought to the way that your brain works? We very rarely think about what's going on in there. And that's probably because for most of human history, nobody had a clue. But over the past few decades, because of brain scans in neurobiology, psychological research, genetics and epigenetics, and the way societies work, we have come to get a much better understanding of the building blocks of human development. And it tells us that our brains take approximately 24 years to be fully formed. And on this journey, they go through two very intensive periods of growth. The first one, as you know, is in the first 6 years of life. And when a baby is born, they have 100 billion neurons. And 85% of brain development occurs in the first 6 years. And high quality cognitive, emotional, and social development of all humans is powered by one thing more than anything else. And it's what researchers at Harvard call serve and return, a tennis term. It describes the intensity of interaction between a parent or a kindergarten teacher and a young child in the first years of life. That every time a child asks a question, and they ask 25 questions an hour by pointing or babbling and eventually using language, that an adult can respond to that and engage with them. We call this serve and return, and it really drives brain development. Children who are neglected, their brains develop much, much, much slower. And neglected children, adults who've grown up with neglect, are actually one of the most marginalized groups in our society. In adolescence, it's not a very stereotypical picture, in adolescence, which really starts from 11 for girls and 12 and a half for boys, because girls are just more grown up than boys, it goes all the way to 24. So we still have some adolescents in the room who in fact didn't know that they were adolescents. But what happens is the number of neurons reduces by half, and those that remain become strengthened. And it is a period of transition from being a child who wants to know about everything to being an adult who must on just. Why is adolescence so turbulent? Firstly, because all of the social and emotional areas of the brain, the things that make us fall in and out of love, the things that make us respond to provocation, the things that make us seek gratification, are fully functioning at the age of about 11 or 12, at the onset of adolescence. But the parts of the brain that enable cognitive control, that filter decisions, are not really online until the end of adolescence. And it is in this gap here that all of the turbulence, but also all of the creativity of adolescence occurs. So I'm going to try and explain this from a decision-making point of view. If we imagine, is the microphone okay? Can you hear me okay? It sounds like there's kickback on it. Okay. So I'm going to try and explain how decision-making works as adults. It's dependent on integrating three major decision-making areas of the brain. And the first one is the primitive, or what we call the lizard brain, the part of the brain that makes you seek food or fight or other primitive urges that I won't mention. But if you go to the Skopje Zoo and you see the snake, that's pretty much all they've got in terms of brain functioning. The second part of the brain is I've gone the wrong direction. The second part of the brain is the social and emotional part of the brain, the part of the brain that seeks attachment, affection, belonging, and bonding. Your cat has got this part of the brain. Has anybody got a cat? Anybody have a pet cat? A few people. Okay, your cat has got both of those parts of the brain, right? The third part of the brain, I'm going the wrong way again. The third part of the brain, only really humans have. It's the prefrontal cortex. It's the rational decision-making part of the brain. It's the part of the brain that helps you filter decisions, but it's also the part of the brain that made you get in your car, drive here, park, come out, find your seat, and listen to me. It's the part of the brain that made you choose the top hat. But your cat doesn't have that part of the brain, unless your cat is from Hogwarts. So it's the integrated nature of these parts of the brain that's really important in good decision making. So to give an example of the way that works, I'll talk about office cake. Does anybody work in an office? Do you get terrorized by office cake? So in my office, people bring office cake all the time, right? And what happens in the brain when you look at this cake is the primitive part of your brain says, it's food, I want it, right? Your social and emotional part of your brain tells you that he's having cake and she's having cake, and if I don't have cake, I'm not part of the group, right? Right? But in my case, so I go through these processes when I see the cake, but then I come to the rational part of the brain. And the rational part of the brain tells me, you're already bald, do you want to be fat? You know? And then these images of bold, fat characters from TV, like Shrek and Uncle Fester and the eunuch from Game of Thrones, come through my head. And I refuse the cake. And that's actually what happens in an integrated brain, you see. You have these different processes that in a split second make you to make a decision. And we all have decisions like that every day. But in adolescence, because the top part is not fully online or connected to the other parts, there's high risk of making bad decisions. There's even higher risk of making bad decisions if an adolescent has come from a background of neglect and the absence of serve and return parenting. And often we're not talking about cake, we're talking about drugs, we're talking about organized crime, we're talking about unprotected sex, and we're talking about joining ISIS and all of these risks that are out there. So while all of this stuff is going on, basically what we see in adolescence, what psychologists would say about adolescence today, is they demonstrate 4 key pieces of behavior, which could be positive, but also have risk factor. The first one is they have emotional spark. They're emotionally alive. Secondly, they seek social engagement. They also seek novelty and things that are new, and they are inherently creative. We need to have school systems that are built around these core characteristics of our young people. I told you earlier that in early childhood, it's serve and return that drives brain growth. What do scientists say drives brain growth in adolescence? It's collaborative perseverance. I think the word for perseverance here is streinost, right? So it's like collaborative streinost through a challenge, preferably a challenge that involves innovation. And this is the single most important thing in adolescent learning, but most of our school systems in the West Balkans do not yet teach this, and that surely has to change. More broadly, we need to make sure that all of our schools have innovation and collaboration at the heart of their curriculum. We need to ensure that teachers and school curriculums and schools foster equally the social and emotional side of brain development in young people. And we need to have a motivation system that looks at every child, regardless of where they've come from, and says to them, you belong here, through hard work you will progress, and everything you learn is relevant to you, your life, and your future. And I think that most high-performing education systems and most high-performing innovative economies in the world now recognize that there is no greater investment they can make than that in ensuring that every child between 0 and 6 has serve and return parenting, and that every child in adolescence has the ability to collaborate, to persevere, to innovate and create. And there is nothing that can do more for the democratic, social and economic development of our society. Благодаря много.
Thank you very much. Now, initially in our program, we had allowed for question time between speakers. Now, I'm not quite sure if anybody would have anything to add or comment or ask of Mr. Perks with regards to his presentation. No? Thank you. Thank you very much for your absolute patience, and I hope you are all enjoying yourselves. I would now like to welcome Mr. Edward Gonzalez, Director of USAID's General Development Office here in Macedonia. Mr. Gonzalez, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely honored to be here at this event among such distinguished company in the panel as well as in the audience to talk about one of the most important issues in the world today, which is social impact and equality through innovation and technology. First, I want to thank the organizers for bringing us together to talk about this important issue. I also want to tell you how inspired I am by all the entrepreneurs, innovators, and young people here tonight who are dedicated to improving themselves and their communities. Your energy and commitment benefits all of us. I entitled my remarks, "The Power of Higher Expectations," because I want to focus our conversation tonight on the fact that all human beings, when given the opportunity and resources, can achieve great and wondrous things. Back in 2013, then President Obama had a town hall meeting with a group of young people from working class families from rural and urban areas. Town hall meetings are meetings during which the speaker has a lot of interaction with the audience, and at times, he or she may enter into conversations with the people asking them questions. During this particular town hall meeting, a young woman asked President Obama, what is his recipe for success in life? President Obama took a moment to think. He smiled and then said, couldn't you have asked me something simpler, like how to solve climate change? But anyway, the president went on to present 3 elements that he felt are essential to a successful life. First, he said a person must have a dream. Before a person can start doing anything, he or she must have a vision, a goal, a dream he or she wants to accomplish. This dream sets a destination that can guide a person's action. Second, a person must work day and night and dedicate all of his or her effort to achieving this dream. Each of us needs to own our dreams and apply ourselves to get closer to it every day. Lastly, the president also said that we need to be humble and recognize that one person may not be able to achieve his or her dream alone, that often we need help. Help may come from our parents, our teachers, our partners, our colleagues, or from other places. We need to be able to ask for help, to be sufficiently humble and admit that we do not have all the answers, and that others may be able to assist us in our efforts to realize our dreams. Dream, work, humility. These are 3 of the elements needed for success. And out of these 3, I propose the most important is the ability to dream. Without a dream, there is no direction. Without a dream, all our efforts, regardless how hard we work, lack focus and effectiveness. Dreaming is the first and greatest step to success. That reminds me of a quote. Only in dreams can men be free. It was always thus, and thus shall always be. However, many people lack the ability to dream. They may come from underprivileged backgrounds and never learn to dream. They may come from marginalized ethnic groups, and they have never seen someone like them in a position of power, so they never dare to dream. They may be a woman in a male-centric society, and they were taught from a very young age that a woman's place is in the home and with her family. Or they may have been born with some physical or mental disability, and society, in order to protect them, denies them the ability to dream. I'm thankful that through my work at USAID, I have been involved in efforts to help people to gain the ability to dream of learning to read, to dream of starting a new business, to dream of learning new skills, to dream of becoming more involved in their government, and to realize that just because they were born poor or marginalized, it doesn't mean they cannot dream. I'm also particularly proud that in addition to helping people to dream, USAID also provides resources and opportunities for people from different backgrounds to gain access to basic education, finance, vocational training, and other resources to support their efforts to realize their dreams. Back in 2009, I was involved in the design of a project to work with youth from gang-infested neighborhoods in Panama, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. The key objective of this project was to provide positive educational, cultural, and employment opportunities for at-risk youth so that they can have an alternative from joining gangs and crime. I went back to the region 5 years into the implementation of this project to learn how the project had evolved, and I learned that the most difficult part of the project was getting young people in these neighborhoods to believe that they would actually survive long enough to benefit from the project, or that companies would actually open their doors to people from these crime-ridden neighborhoods. They were unable to dream. But USAID, we work with them, with the churches, with their parents, and with the private sector to address these concerns. We invited the local Microsoft offices from each of the countries to come speak to some of these young people, and Microsoft committed to give 10 internships a year in each of the countries to the project participants who got certified in some Microsoft tools. Similarly, other IT firms stepped up and opened their doors. In the end, USAID's effort, with active support from the private sector, was able to help over 20,000 at-risk youth from these countries. As a result, crime rates went down. Crime rates went down between 18 and 30% in the neighborhoods where USAID was working in comparison to the rest of the country. And over 5,000 at-risk youth found internships or jobs that allow them to live a better life and escape a life of crime. This success was possible because these young people who, by no fault of their own, had been born poor or lived in a dangerous neighborhood, they learned to dream and work to improve their lives and their communities. Let me now tell you about one of the 20 projects that USAID has here in Macedonia. It's called the Social Inclusion Through Technology Project, or SIT. Over the last 18 months, SIT has worked with young people with disabilities to provide them with IT and work-related trainings to develop so that they can develop important technical and soft skills that unfortunately a lot of young people here in Macedonia don't get access to. SIT produced a bundle of 20 courses that they prepared with subtitles in sign language so that they could be accessible for persons with disability. The project also provided the participants with mentors and career coaches to help them along the process. So far, in just 18 months, 137 young people have successfully completed the training. 15 of them have done internships, and 6 have secured full-time jobs. This is quite an accomplishment. But what is most important is that these young people are demonstrating every day that people with disabilities should not be confined to working only in sheltered companies. They can work in many more sectors and do mainstream jobs. For example, Andrei Stoyanovsky is a deaf young man who was actually involved in the Special Olympics. He participated in the project, finished the training, and now he's doing an internship at Tech.O. Similarly, Alexander Galevsky is a visually impaired youth who used to work at a sheltered company, and after completing all the training, he quit his job and now is interning at T-Nex's IT department. Like Andre and Alexander, there are many other young men and women who are proving that when given the opportunity and resources, people with disabilities can achieve and contribute great things to society. I want to conclude by revisiting the recipe for success of dream, work, and humility. I want to challenge myself and each of you to fight against stereotypes that limit people from believing they can achieve great things in life. If you have the opportunity to be a mentor, to provide an internship, or simply to inspire a person to go beyond the limits that society has imposed on him or her, do so. Because by doing so, you will be helping that person to dream, and you will also be helping to create a better world for all of us. Thank you. Blagodaram. Felimendari.
Well, that was most definitely inspiring as far as I'm concerned. No, we didn't go through this, did we? There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening I also have the pleasure of announcing one of the first few social enterprises in Macedonia, and the owner, Mr. Ljubomir Stojevski, to tell us a few words about his story.
Hi everyone, Mr. Perks here was talking about food a little bit, so let's continue on all of it. My name is Ljubomir Stojevski and I'm the founder of Freshes. Yeah, this is a picture of me turning off my rational part of my brain and digging ice cream. Food and eating food is one of the most frequent things we do in life. And it's a source of great pleasure for most of us, but unfortunately not for all of us. Here in Macedonia, we have a problem with food insecurity, especially for a couple of vulnerable groups of people. It's the homeless people, the social care users, and also part of the elderly people. In a couple of public kitchens in the city of Skopje, they can get food for one meal a day, only 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. So Out of the possible 21 meals per week, they're getting only 5. And that's a really, really big problem. So, targeting this problem, the informal group Retweet a Meal and the Kindness Organization started with their own funds, gathering ingredients, cooking meals in Fridays, and sharing those meals with the vulnerable every Saturday. This has been going on for almost 3 years now, and more than 200 people are getting meals this way every Saturday. I'm a proud member of this group of young people. Some of them are here in the audience. Please raise your hand. We are an informal group of people which believes that everyone deserves a decent meal, and that the change that we're going to do is by making lots of people do a small actions to provide this change. So being part of this group and getting my master's degree with a thesis on social entrepreneurship, I decided to try and find a business solution towards this problem. So I founded Freshies 2 years ago. It's a small takeout restaurant for fresh food. We make a lot of salads, sandwiches, smoothies, and desserts. And we have the same belief as the informal group Retweet a Meal. So everyone deserves a decent meal. Our social business model consists of that 34% of our profits goes to direct food donations to homeless people. And we also provide permanent discounts for 15% permanent discounts for students and 10% discounts for everyone that brings their own plate or their own cup into our place. Also, we are operating as a logistics center for the Retweet a Meal group, because there are people that have the ability but don't have the time to help this informal group, and they only buy ingredients and bring them to our place. And we have a group of volunteers that are coming in, taking these ingredients, cooking food back home, and sharing this food with the homeless people in our city. As a young company, we faced a lot of problems as any other businesses when we started. So the first ones were what will be the legal framework we will have, and we decided to go with a regular business, which has an initial and internal decision that a third of the profit goes to donations. Of course, after we solved the money and location, after we chose a location, the next thing to do was to present ourselves and tell who we are, what we do, and why we do all of this. Of course, there's always a competition around, and the food business in Macedonia is really dynamic and vivid. But as we grow, we come to new problems and new experiences about having the focus straight, having the balance between the social and financial goals, and also, thinking about growth. Looking back, we've been operating for a little bit more than 2 years now, and so far we've donated more than 3,000 euros in direct food donations, and also provided more than 7,000 discounted meals, mostly for students of all ages. This doesn't sound like a lot, but it's only generated from only one location here in Skopje, and our short-term plans are to open at least 2 more in the city center. Also, we have a dream of growing and spreading our company around the Balkans and then in Europe, and we dream about a network of a lot of locations that will not only provide direct impact in their societies, but also with every product sold, we'll share a message for empathy and a message for help to the ones in need. Because we believe that every one of us has the power and also obligation to go through life with eyes wide open, and to help and be able to recognize people's problems around themselves. On this difficult path we've set on, we will need a lot of friends, advisors, partners, and investors. So anyone interested in our story can contact me on this address. And I would like to finish up with a couple of thoughts that I have before I started. So for every young entrepreneur or social entrepreneur here, I would like to say this couple of things. No matter how much you plan something, it's not going to be close to the reality. So just start small, and then make your move forward. Be loud and clear about what you do. That is the only way you can get real friends and real supporters. Use all the support you can get, be always in balance and focus on the things you do. You have to think business-like, no matter if you're a social enterprise or only a company that has a social responsibility program, you need to be able to provide value for people. Also, you need to cooperate with everyone around you. So, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing on the be loud and clear. After 2 years now in this country, in Macedonia, I have had the pleasure of meeting quite a few startups by first being part of a number of accelerators and also having some close ties within the startup industry myself. And one of the biggest issues that I am faced with on a daily basis is, how do I tell everybody about my idea? Somebody is going to steal it. Well, you know, if you have had that one idea and you think it's that good, I'm sure you've got quite a few more. But no matter who takes it, I am 100% certain that it will not be exactly the same as yours. Because sure as I don't think that both of you think exactly alike. So yes, anybody with an idea, if people don't know about it, there is no way that that will develop and grow into anything more. Don't worry, nobody will steal your idea, but you might just happen to be the inspiration to somebody else's idea of their own. Next then, I would like to introduce to you all Mr. Duško Čifliganec, the Deputy Manager of Adora Engineering, who will also share his story. Just the arrow.
Oh, okay. Honored diplomats, respected entrepreneurs, innovators, engineers, designers, respected guests, visitors, and all young and old but motivated people to create a more socially equal and more innovative society. Good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to thank the Vilasa Hub for asking me to have me here and express my viewpoint on the very globally intensifying topic of social equality and some of the innovative methods we might use in order to improve the same. It's an absolute honor. The topic which I chose for my brief discussion today is stakeholders, not shareholders, which stands for a way of life and conducting business in which the interest of the stakeholders always has to come prior to the sole interest of the shareholders involved. In my opinion, this concept is the very essence and the basics in our journey to a socially equal and more innovative society. I'm well aware that the majority of you are aware of the concept of shareholder versus stakeholders. However, you allow me to start with a brief description of both terms. So shareholders are people who invested money in the organization by purchasing shares of the concerned enterprise and directly enjoy the benefits or consequences from the operations of the organization. On the other hand, stakeholders is the wide range of parties whose interest is directly or indirectly affected by the organization's positive or negative actions. In this slide here, we can see an illustration of the wide range of stakeholders. So we can see that stakeholders are constituted by employees, the government, customers, owners, the society, the community, lenders, and so on. Meaning, stakeholders is everyone or everything that is affected by the actions of a given organization or situation. Let me visualize for you in few examples the concept of stakeholders versus shareholders. So in this, for me, very sad situation, the car itself might be considered as the organization. The driver of the car will be the shareholder because he or she directly enjoys the benefits or the consequences from the operations of the car. Everything around the car that's affected by the pollution, including this poor man here inhaling CO2, will be the stakeholder in this given situation. In this far more real example situation, the shareholder would be this guy throwing sewage waste or whatever waste it is into the lake. The lake, the fish, the people who might go swimming in the lake, the water itself, the lake surroundings and everything associated with the lake will be the stakeholders in this situation. In this final and most disturbing image, I guess it's not very hard to judge who would the shareholder and who would the stakeholder be. Having very reality-based illustrated the concept of stakeholder versus shareholder, the point I wanted to make is that the biggest stakeholder in any organization is the environment. And in the context of social stakeholder, the biggest stakeholder should be always the common good. Let us now see how can we advocate and fight for supporting our topic today, which is stakeholder, not shareholders. Here, ladies and gentlemen, CSR or corporate social responsibility steps into the picture. Corporate social responsibility is the field that encourages companies to take the interest of all stakeholders into consideration during their decision-making processes instead of making their choices based solely upon the interest of shareholders only. So corporate social responsibility is the field in business that shares the same goal as our topic today, as our event today, and is the field in business which we salute. Let us now move to the specific theme of our discussion today, which is social impact and equality, social equality through innovation and technology. So, technology and innovation. Huge amount of the people today tend to think that technology and innovation actually destroys our society. Even I have to admit that sometimes I share that same opinion. However, that doesn't have to be always the case. Actually, that doesn't have to be the case at all. Remember this polluting car and this poor man inhaling CO2? This picture can look rather differently. Meet Tesla Motors, which I believe the majority of you are very well aware of already. Tesla Motors was founded in 2003. Tesla produces fully electric cars with zero CO2 emissions. Tesla cars are fast, reliable, comfortable, with long range without recharging. Today, Tesla is the fastest growing car manufacturer in the world. Let us proceed to our next example of how can technology and innovation lead to social impact and equality. Recall this guy throwing poop into the lake? Technology and innovation knows better than this. Allow me to introduce you the Gates Foundation, which created a machine which converts poop into drinking water and electricity, addressing the needs of 2.4 billion people globally that do not have access to safe sanitation and drinking water sources. Impressive, isn't it? And these trees, they don't have to be cut down. technology and innovation knows a smarter way in order to make great use out of these trees and still take care of them. The University of Engineering and Technology in Peru, which is known for developing innovative technology in response to pressing world issues, created the Planta Lamparas, a lamp that runs on plant power and lights the small village of Nuevo Saposoa, addressing the problem of approximately 42% of rural areas in the Peruvian jungle that don't have electricity. Plant power only. Having very illustratively described the concept of stakeholder and shareholders and the importance of technology and innovation, adding to the same. Fortunately, our time for discussion today is very limited, therefore I had to stick to 3 short examples. However, I believe they were pretty impactful and spread the message strongly enough. The point I wanted to say is that the interest of all stakeholders have to come prior to the sole interest of the shareholders. Only then technology and innovation can lead to social impact and equality. Lastly, I want all of you today to take away 3 very important messages. First, shareholders are stakeholders as well, meaning that person driving that polluting car will be inhaling, actually is inhaling the very same pollution caused by his or her car. And that guy throwing poop in the lake will go for a swim into that very same lake tomorrow. Second, it is absolutely crucial that consumers and clients do everything in their power to recognize and encourage companies that engage in CSR practices. In this way only, companies will feel the incentive and be prone to adopting CSR. Moreover, in this way only, clients and consumers can take the pride, can take the credit and feel the pride in the socially responsible course in which our society should be heading. Third and most important, I want all of you to understand and agree with that companies' true success is measured only by the quality of the society they are able to create in the area of their operations. So, all of you, do you want a happier, healthier, and more humane society with equal opportunities for everyone? If so, that journey is only to be walked together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Any questions? I was clear enough. Thank you.
Next in line, we have both of our mentors, coaches, and 2 most professional ladies who I honestly have a true pleasure that they have both decided to join us here this evening. First in line, out of the 2, is Ms. Vesna Kuzmanovic, coach and mentor for social enterprises. Vesna?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Vilasa Hub for inviting me and be speaker on this nice event. I really think that this kind of events miss in Macedonia. A lot of things miss, but this kind of events too. My professional background is in research, almost 20 years. And when you work in research, especially for the biggest and most successful company in Macedonia, as Alkaloid, Coca-Cola, two biggest breweries, wineries in Macedonia, Telecom, etc., you have a feeling that in Macedonia has really good climb for innovation. Because in the last 20 years, we launched a lot of successful products and services. And that's why actually I started a career in research, to produce or actually to develop in the much more products and services for improving the life in Macedonia. Usually normal practice or normal link with research and innovation is to minimize the risk of failure. And when we started the career in research, especially in new product development, in cooperation with all of these successful clients, I thought that this is the real link, and this link exists in Macedonia. But unfortunately, after a few years, we started projects, and we see that clients only engage research for minimizing the damage of failure because they missed the base. They didn't conduct any kind of research, just launch the product because always think that profit is the final point in which they have to be focused. So we speak now a lot about innovation, why innovation is important, etc. And we usually connect innovation with business. So Pearson said that business is like a man rowing a boat upstream. He has no choice. He must go ahead or he will be back. And this is the truth. So Macedonian company actually have no choice. They will innovate or they will stay only on Macedonian market and in the near future will die because the competition now is global, is not a local one. But innovation is not connected only with business. If you see what are benefits of innovation, we can see that almost half of these benefits are connected with social aspects of human life. Actually, innovations exist because they tend to improve the, every aspect of individual life. So that's why I think that when we speak about innovation, actually it's equal about speaking of responsible leadership, because people who can make a choice and influence the life of all other individuals in their society has to be responsible and prepare these people to face the challenges of the future. I will present today some data from my PhD dissertation in two aspects. One is desk research, just to show you how our system actually invests in research and development or innovation, or how is systematic approach to fostering innovation in Macedonia. And the other type of data will be presented from primary research. Actually, I conducted primary research interviews with 400 decision makers from Macedonian company, how they perceive the situation or their potential for innovation. What are the data? You know that Macedonia, according to the quality of life index, is always almost on the bottom. So we have very low purchase power, we have low safety index, high pollution index, everything. And the most crucial negative parameter is that actually poverty rate in Macedonia is approximately 21%, or 21% of our people in Macedonia are below the poverty line. And the other most depressive actually result is that our students on PISA result, they are in the three different aspects actually on the bottom. After us is only Kosovo. So we have potential to innovate, we said, or we tend to be innovative, but we don't invest in education and we don't invest in the future people or in our young people who has to lead this country. So according to the government expenditure, you can see here on this data that GRD is actually acronym for governmental expenditure in research and development, and you can see here that Macedonia, comparing with the similar country as Slovenia or Estonia, is significantly below. So our government actually spent in $1 million only $360 million for fostering innovation in Macedonia, or to support the companies, individuals, universities, etc., to innovate or to develop competitive products and services, not only in Macedonia, but outside of the country. So if we take into consideration that in this sum of $360 million US dollars actually was bought in this year equipment for 189 sophisticated laboratories, and this equipment, believe me, that exists in the country, but they stay in some depot because our government didn't calculate the cost for human resources or how many people should be actually trained to work and put this equipment in use. So we have something, we spent on that, but we don't use it. The other support from the government, something which is actually promoted, you know, is a fund for innovation and technology development in Macedonia. So in the last 3 years, they published 4 calls, and they spent 1,860,000 euros for 35 beneficiaries. If you see, if you split actually this amount, you can see that amount of money which was given to the company is not enough for really innovate, commercialize, etc., etc. So according to the data of startup community, you can see that according to all parameters, Macedonia is always on the bottom. And always we are behind countries which are really similar with population, with every parameter. If we want to actually say that we are a small country, so we have no enough capacity. So what is primary research? I have a lot of data here, but I don't want to bother you with all this data. So if someone from you want to have this data, can contact Vilasa Hub and I will share the presentation. I will just point few things. Do you know that more than 70% of the companies in Macedonia have no R&D department? Actually, they have no dedicated people to research and develop new products and services. The other thing, how much money they spend for innovation. You can see here that amount of money is really low. And not only that, if you see for what purpose they invest in R&D, you can see that actually our companies think that to be innovative is to be user of the most innovative technology which someone else produced it. So we are users, we are not creators in Macedonia. The other thing which is really devastating is how company invest in training or in human resources development. So you can see that almost half of the companies here have not organized in the last 3 years any training for their employees. If they organize training, then the training is only for some technical skills for using the equipment which was mentioned that was bought. The companies were asked, do they have a problem with brain drain? Yes, you know that we have really serious problem with brain drain, not because of Macedonia is not good country for living, but because of Macedonia doesn't offer any option for young and skilled people. They want to actually have normal life with low pollution, with prosperity and everything. But here in Macedonia, we didn't offer that. What is cooperation with other stakeholders in ecosystem? So you can see that actually the companies don't cooperate with any other stakeholder, they don't cooperate with university, they don't cooperate with small companies, etc., etc. So we can conclude that ecosystem for entrepreneurship in Macedonia, especially for innovation, doesn't exist. According to all this data, actually we can conclude that in Macedonia has a lack of responsible leadership. So we have no systematic or political or governmental support and vision how Macedonia to become a really innovative country. And the other thing is that companies are led by people who have vision only to short-term profit, but not long-term vision for competition outside of the borders of Macedonia. You know that, and I mentioned before that responsible leadership means that people who can actually have to work on developing the skills for people. This is the crucial social impact on innovation, to develop these people for actually preparing for all challenges which the future brings. So that's why I think that in Macedonia still has a potential to be developed this ecosystem, but we have to work on getting the links or building the links among all stakeholders. So we have to work on corporations to be much more socially responsible and responsible for the future. Then government, we need real support from the government. Investors, especially from the banking sector and all other financial institutions in Macedonia, which are quite conservative. They don't invest in startups, they don't invest in ideas, they invest only in strong companies with stable portfolio products, etc., etc. But they don't have enough resources to innovate. So we have to build a startup community and give chance to young people with vision. Of course, academia, because we need knowledge from the academia to be actually focused on development of the business sectors and on our actually country as a whole. Then foundations and NGOs which should be leader in social innovations. So I have a few things to propose to all people who are present here, because we are part of different stakeholders. So we have to have not competitive approach, but completely opposite. We have to be cooperative, because if we don't cooperate among us, we will not build the strong ecosystem. We will continue to face the problem with brain drain, because young people with vision and skills will leave the country in the future too. So how to foster innovation in Republic of Macedonia? I think that we have to develop high-skilled talents. So we have to be focused on education, not only for young people on academia, but we have to, I think, introduce the subject or curriculum for entrepreneurship and innovation even in the preschool education, because as Ben mentioned, the main computational skill or STEAM spectrum of skills are formed quite early. It's not only when you when you come on university and you choose your profession, so you want to be specialist in some profession or in some specific field of industry, technology, etc. You have all people actually, especially young kids, have to develop this skilled and computational thinking in early childhood. So, according to the finance, we have to enable access to finance. I have a message to the banks to start to invest in idea and people with spirit, with desire, with vision, not only in the companies which are stable and can show good balance sheet in the past. Then government has to relax the system for forming the companies, but in the same time for closing down the companies, because in Macedonia, a lot of people, I work in the last 3 years mainly in the area of startups and social entrepreneurship, And I know that people have a vision, young people, but they are afraid that if they open the company, what if they fail? They cannot actually close down the company. The cost and the procedure for closing down the company is more complicated than to open up. So they have to take into consideration tax reduction and a lot of other things, or some actually subvention for investment in innovation, etc. We have to promote research and celebrate success of high talents in Macedonia. We need and we are hungry for successful story of not only young people, but people who succeeded outside of Macedonia. And I think that Skopje in Macedonia is center of everything, so I propose to work on regional development. Just to finish that not so depressive as I started, actually in Macedonia have a lot of funds, and we have a source of finance, but we have to be prepared how to take the money. And I think that this money will help us actually to face with the challenges of the future, and maybe we will be the next Israel, Estonia, maybe Singapore. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, did you consider the question about media? Because I think this is in particular a problem with your issue, because as you said, once if you begin to work on an innovation and you reach, unfortunately, some failure, then it's almost impossible in this country to be back in business. And usually the main issue and the main problem for this is the media, because media promotes business and media ruins the business in this country. And because my project, my little organization, the name of it is similar like yours. It's called Pyramid Upside Down. And we find out that those people that are actually rejects for innovation, they are the best innovators, and it's due to the relationship of the media that our media has no criteria. So do you plan to work to do anything about this issue? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. In this research from which the results were presented, actually I didn't explore media as one of the factors for fostering the innovation. For sure it is an important factor, and thank you for your suggestion. We can include it in as a stakeholder in our ecosystem, and we have to work on that, yeah, for sure.
No further questions? No?
Okay.
Thank you, Vesna. Oh, now I have a mic in my hand. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Vesna. And our last presenter or speaker for this evening is a lady who has and was a part and will continue to be of my startup journey, specifically here in Macedonia. She was to me a great helper and remains to be. I do call her sometimes at the most inappropriate times, but she's always ready to listen. Tracy Sparks.
Okay.
Yep.
The room looks like we need some energy. Yeah. Yes? So why don't everyone stand up? Stand up. Great. And I want you to talk to the person next to you and tell them what diversity can you bring to an innovation conversation. And when I say diversity, I'm talking about your demographic, your gender, your age, your disability, your race. I am also talking about your skill, your knowledge, your tech knowledge, your experiences in the country, outside the country. So just take a few minutes and think about that. In an innovation conversation where you're trying to take the status quo and bring it to a big, bold idea, what do you bring? Okay, so turn to the person next to you and think about your demographic diversity, your skill set. Okay, do you think this is a time where we can stop for a moment? Yes? Yes?
We can all take our seats again, please,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah? Great, so now you got all started, yes? Everyone started? So I'm an innovation facilitator. We're gonna do innovation. I'm also a design strategist, and what that means is I bring innovation to the conversation when you're wanting to pivot the products that you already have to a new idea, or the services that you have, or you want to start a new project or a new program that's going to make social impact. That's what a design strategist does. I've been in and out of this country for 9 years. I was a Peace Corps volunteer. In 2013, I left. And from 2013 to 2015, I was in 20 high-growth startup teams. And we used the process of design thinking to come up with big ideas that could solve big problems. And what I want to share with you tonight is that the insights to being in such an intense period of time allowed me to get access to innovation in a repeatable process, and I want to share that with you. So there's 2 findings in research that says that like-minded people produce like-minded results. It's not new, right? But guess what? It's pretty comfortable, right? And so if you're looking for small, incremental, positive results, stick with like-minded people, right? But if you're looking for innovation and to ignite it, look for the diverse point of view and diversity. And you'll see on this slide, it actually says demographic diversity. So let's look at our demographic diversity. All of us have at least 2, if not 3 or 4 of these, right? So in the spirit of March 8th, tomorrow, women, let's look at gender and how that's evolved in our social life in our workplace. Here's Catherine Schweitzer, 1967. And the organizer pulls her collar and tries to pull the number off of her blouse as she's running the Boston Marathon. Why? She's not supposed to be there. Women are not supposed to be in the Boston Marathon. 1972, women are invited. Catherine's voice was heard. Here's Ellen Powell, 2015, we still have the same issue. She accuses the firm KPCB, which is the largest venture capital firm in San Francisco, of sidelining women and people of color. They're not invited to meetings, not network events either, and they don't get emails. They're excluded from the conversation to do their job. She loses the lawsuit, but she starts the conversation in Silicon Valley. And look where we are today with Me Too. Time's up. So how have you been sidelined? Think about it. When you want to be of use and make that difference, what it is a lot of time, it's an I issue, right? We think it is. It's like, I didn't talk enough, or I didn't build a relationship with my boss enough, or I didn't stick up for myself and ask for that promotion. But it's not an I issue all the time. Sometimes it's a bias issue. It's the no at hello. When I'm a no at hello, I'm preparing. So I say, hi, how are you? Or you say that to me, and I say, in my head, no. It's my preparation for the separation, you from me from you. It's the differences and the preferences that are going on in my head, and I can't hear you because I got this whole story about you. So how do we get out of that situation? Because that happens. That moment is devoid of empathy. And it doesn't allow us to actually see, hear, consider diversity. Simply put, it's having an EQ around the point of views, around diversity. So it's turning conflict into curiosity. So when I meet you, what William James said, who is one of America's philosophers from the 1800s, not from like 2,000 years ago, he said, whenever two people meet, there's really 6 people present. It's what you think of me and what I think of me and who I really am. And it's what you think of you and what I think of you and who you really are. That's 6 different conflicting points of view in one conversation. So we got to loosen up a little in order to hear, consider diversity. And guess what? Then we don't have to deal with the status quo. We can start having conversations that allow us to jump the plane to a new level of performance, to a new level of innovation. This is key to innovation. This is a starting, originating point to be able to have every day the access to innovating for social impact. So what other superpowers do we have with diversity? You, your team, and influence from the environment. So you have your imagination, but the imagination is only as good as your knowledge, your experiences, your skills, and your strengths. And then it gets fueled by your mindset. So on the left is the puzzler. That's the person who has a very defined way to handle tasks. And if a piece isn't there, they can't finish the task. That's a fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, but the most knowledge in the world, the most experience in the world, and skills and strengths, you're not going to be open to the possibility of innovation. So on the other side is the quilter. That's the true innovator. That's the person who they look at the people around them, the physical resources around them, the clay in Nagotino. Why are there wood carvers in Nagotino? There's clay there. Yeah? Or they look at the rural area that they're in or the city that they're in, and they gather those resources and leverage them and they come up with surprising ideas that they never could actually imagine before. This combination allows you to have access to your imagination so that dreams can come true. Also, you said something about ideas. Ideas become abundant. There is no scarcity with this combination. Oh, I didn't know this actually worked. It was supposed to flash. One more, okay. So when I was a part of those 20 teams in 2 years, it was pretty hectic. They were actually self-organized. And so the leader always was kind of bubbling up. It wasn't chosen. But the key to our team was that we were value aligned. We all had academic education and we had professional training. And in that professional training, it instilled in us a work ethic, as well as communication lines, decision-making, like frameworks, and it allowed us to really highly perform. We were cross-functionally diverse, and that's necessary for innovation. You can't have a bunch of engineers and no designer, or no person that's going to figure out how operationally a project can be implemented or financially be implemented. There are at least 3 functional members that need to be a part of the team. And that is someone that's going to develop the project or the business, someone that owns and lives and breathes the subject matter, so the industry expert, and then the designer who cares about the customer that's going to use the product or service that you're wanting to come up with. And then the last thing is having a process. So we all use design thinking. How many know what design thinking is? Okay, it's the global method that is used for innovation. It's something that we need here. And we do have sprouts of it. There are companies here that are actually mainly filled with youth that have gone away from the country and come back. And they are excited because it is a repeatable way for innovation. Lastly, the last diverse way is outside of you. It's your culture, your habitat, so rural or city, your resources, and the world at large. The more homogeneous your culture is, the more it's important to have someone from the region or from an international point of view to come into your team. And the reason for that is that they don't have the same problems as you have. And so some of the ideas that you guys have actually work in the other countries and vice versa. And finally, the juice to these 4 diversities is your attitude. If you don't have the attitude, having diversity in an innovation team can be a disaster. So being that champion observer, you forgot to tell me about the gum. You forgot to tell me about the gum. But you know what? We'll be able to do this, okay? We'll be able to do the gum. The inclusion, the growth mindset, and then seeing problems and failures as possibility. So diversity is an igniter, but like I said, it takes management, and it takes building your muscle in the ways of being around considering points of view, around hearing people at certain points of time during design thinking. So what the gum is about, so who has their gum? Put it in your mouth, please. Whoever has your gum. And what this is about is it goes back to when I was talking about how do you get access to listening and considering other points of view. How many have been in a meeting where you really had a great idea and someone talks over you? Or you feel like you're not heard? Or there's never a time for you, but there's always time for someone else. Yeah, and so we need to have like an idea what collaboration is. Collaboration means to get the juice and the power of collaboration is that you have to be able to listen to people's grounded points of view. And what I mean by grounded is you've done your research. And you bring your heart to the conversation. And you're listened to and considered. And then there's a lead who makes a decision and moves you to the next step. That skill is necessary for innovation. So I have a team challenge for you. How many of you are in the startup world? Okay. How many of you are in NGOs? Okay, so you have projects, yeah? And in public service? Projects, right? Yeah. And corporations. Okay, right? And you have projects, and you have new projects and products going on, okay? So I made this form, actually, that allows you to put diversity into every project, every startup, every NGO program that you're putting together, to consider it. And then in addition to that, I put in here converging and digital emerging technology. Because I didn't really talk about technology, because this is my story here about innovation. But it's in here so that you can start looking at how to make that unbelievable, impactful, scalable change, starting with your community. So what I would recommend or champion is for the leader of teams to take one of these and link to me, because I have a Google Drive where you can look at going through exercise for team formations that will allow you to bring innovation to your programs, to your projects, to your businesses. So thank you for letting me speak, and talk to me afterwards, please. Can we do that real quick?
Yeah, great.
Okay, so this is your first introduction to feeling openness and empathy. When you meet someone that has a different point of view than you, or is diverse from you. So when you have gum in your mouth, you can feel what? Chewy, yeah? Elastic, yeah? Malleable. It's impressionable, right? So it actually impresses a point of view. It may even impact your point of view, yeah? I wanted this somatic exercise because moments like this in time, you will remember. If you're into discovering who you are around innovation, this is one of those moments. So if you have your phone, feel that. Feel your phone fixed, yeah? A fixed point of view is necessary for innovation as well, when a decision has to be made. But when you're entertaining solutions for a problem that you clearly define and align with, you need to have the gum in your mouth.
Thank you. My bad, I'm really sorry. It will never happen again. Now I have to pay back big time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all heard a number of different stories, different viewpoints, and I am sure that each and every one of us has been able to take away something from this evening. After our final thank yous and some presentations that need to be made for this evening, I would like to invite you for our networking part of this evening. Please take time to meet our guests. Please do introduce yourselves to each other, because as I keep saying over and over again, you never know where and how your paths may cross in the future, and how you might be able to help each other out to become something greater. At Vilasa Hub, part of, or just some of the work that we do in our own contribution to being socially responsible and socially aware is continued cooperation with organizations like Freshies, and we have on a number of occasions cooked for the homeless, and I do guarantee that all of my staff absolutely enjoy that. We also have very close ongoing cooperation, and we've done some training sessions from the young children from the orphanages, one of which is the center of 11 Oktobri. The young children who have on a couple of occasions visited us, they do leave inspired, they do leave motivated. They didn't want to go home, the last group. So, you know, if that's an indication of just how little change and just how little it takes to really give rise to hope and, you know, give rise to the beginning of a dream, honestly, it doesn't take a lot of energy. Let's all do just a little bit. Now, this evening, I would like to welcome to the stage, for just a little certificate, another contribution to the Center 11 Oktobri, gospođa Sonja, ako bi možela da dodate da pena.
Добро вечер на сите. Јас ќе зборувам на македонски, се надевам дека нема да биде проблем, бидејќи го владеам англискиот, но не толку добро за да би можела да се изразувам. Тоа што сакам всушност да го кажам. Пред се благодарам на Валосо што ни ја додели оваа донација. И благодарам пред се што не викна оваа вечер да присуствуваме на овој настан. Донацијата која што ни ја доделивте, верувајте дека е добредојдена и дека ќе биде искористена навистина таму каде што треба и за тие што треба, тоа е за децата во институцијата. Би сакала да се заблагодарам на Валонсо за тоа што иницијативата за соработка беше всушност нивна. Значи, они ја потегна иницијативата за соработка и ги отворија вратите на својата компанија за да можат децата кои што се од оваа ранлива категорија на лица да имаат една слика како всушност се работи во една таква успешна компанија и може би да предизвикаат желба кај нив за понатаму да и тие можат да учествуваат и работат во една таква успешна компанија, па дури кога ќе се интегрираат успешно во општеството и да основаат една таква компанија. Соработката со нив ни продолжува во нагорна линија, се надевам и понатака. И би сакала само уште да кажам дека сметам дека би требало, имам надеж дека ќе има и слух и кај други компании кои што ќе покажат општествена одговорност токму кон оваа ранлива категорија на лица, за да се најдат во соглед на своите можности, своите можности и своите цели што ги имаат во компанијата, да помогнат и да дадат поддршка токму на овие лица. Не би должела повеќе, ви благодарам уште еднаш на се.
And now, the most important part for me in the evening, at Vilasa Hub, we have this extraordinary person that was in charge of all of this. I would like to invite Victor and Natasha to join me on stage before I say a fantastic thank you to Elena for putting all of this together for us this evening, and I do hope that this is only the beginning of something much greater that each and every one of us will be a part of. Please join me to say a big thanks to Elena.
I didn't expect this. I'm delighted.
It's a surprise.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. such a big surprise. Thank you. I really have no words to explain my honor and my gratitude. Thank you. To my colleagues to do this special surprise, but also it's such an honor to be here this night to host all of you who showed that you care about our society, who showed that you believe that together, with collaboration, we can do more for a better tomorrow of everybody. So I would like to say a special thanks to our speakers for their gratitude and for their generosity to come here this evening and to share their experience and knowledge with us. And also a very special thanks to our event partners who have supported us in this initiative to create a better world for everybody. So I would like to name them. Can you please? Yeah, a very special thanks to NLB Banka, to Stratum R&D, to Total TV, to Cantina. Creating this. So before we start with our surprise for you, which is handing over some prizes for the lucky winners, I would like to say a special thanks to our CEO, Bobby Lin, who is not here tonight, but who wholeheartedly supports us in creating a better society for the people in Macedonia. Thank you, Bobby. Okay, now I will have Natasha to help me with some. Okay, so we have some prizes which were donated from our supporters, and we would like to hand them over to some of the lucky winners amongst you. So let me just find them. Okay. The first prize is a voucher for night for 2 people in Hotel Gardenia, Veles. So it goes to Danka Čifliganec. Then we have 5 vouchers for domain name and hosting from Macahost. And let's see who will get them. The first person is Verica Georgieva. Is Verica here? You can come to the stage. Then the next voucher goes to Imer Kameri. Congratulations. Thank you. And thank you for coming. The next one is for Olivera Petrovska. Okay. This is our Georgia's Vesna, but Olivera is her sister.
Yeah, thank you.
Then we have another voucher for Victoria Mirceska. Thank you. Here is the voucher. Angela Nikolova. Thank you, Angela. Here you go. And the last voucher goes to Vincent Huck. Thank you, Vincent. Here you go. Okay, the next prize is, can you please help me? We have the prizes there. Between the two chairs. Okay, we have a bag donated by Velemark Data. And that one goes to Sanya Georgieva. Is Sanya here? No. Okay, in that case, we will hand it over to someone else who is here. That's why you need to stay until the end. Maya Tasheva. No? Okay. Another try. Dragana Chifliganec. Yeah, it seems like Chifliganets are very lucky people. She's not here. Okay. Yeah. The next one. Done. No. And we have the last prize. 2 books from Knjižara 3 and a jar of Ivar from Mama's. It goes to Alexander Ivanovsky. So that was all with the prizes. Now it's a great pleasure to invite you to the part that we're all waiting for, to the networking party where you can meet with each other and where you can find possibilities and opportunities to make new collaborators for your business. Thank you very much.